What you focus on. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lady Kay Chat podcast. You are here with your favorite host, Lady Kay, and I want to welcome you back. We are here for another season, and in this whole new season that we're in, the whole month, we want to be speaking about what men want, and I have the pleasure of introducing and interviewing a few men to come on my platform to share their perspective. So, ladies, I hope you got your pen out, and I hope you taking notes, but today, specifically, I want everyone to help me give a round of applause to this gentleman right here. This is Ronnie Walker. He is the master coach of exceptional relationship and sex. Woo, hot topic. He has been in this field for over 25 years. They call him Mr. Relationship Man. Everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Ronnie Walker. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. How are you doing, everyone? I want to congratulate you first on the brand new season of your show. So, I mean, that's always a good thing because it tells to me that this is not just a space of hobby for you. You really take to heart what you're doing and empowering the ladies and gentlemen that are out there in the world. So I thank you for that and congratulate you on that as well.
Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate you. I appreciate you in this space because I know you got a mouthful to say. And I'm so excited that you are here because I think I spoke to you about this a few months ago. I was speaking with a friend and he said to me, he was like, we're just the providers, but you guys don't really care. And I said, wait a minute. I said, so you really think us women don't care about you? He was like, yeah, we just care about the money. And I'm like, wow. And I had to let him know. And I even shared this recently on my social media. I said, I don't take it lightly when my Black men specifically confide in me, because that just let me know that you trust me enough to open up to me. And I create this safe space for you because I do recognize I do have a healing energy. And and at first, I used to be not happy about that gift because people don't know how to utilize their gift. And that is part of the problem that we have here in society. They don't know how to accept it. And you don't know how to work it to the best of your ability where you can help the next person. So with that being said, I have to say, when you are connecting with someone, vetting is very important. And Ronnie, from your years of you doing this, I have to ask this question to you, right? Who do you think is more better at vetting, men or women?
Wow, that is a good one. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I have to say men are better at it.
Yes.
If because we're looking at it, well, first of all, it's because we consider ourselves and we want to be the leader in the relationship. We're providing the direction in the relationship going into marriage. And this is where when I speak to men in terms of being intentional. So if you look at, and that's not to say that we get it right all the time because we don't, right. Sometimes we let our interpretations of our emotions and the interpretations of what is being expressed based on, of course, we can talk about the way we were raised and the experiences that we had with our fathers, mothers, or lack thereof, either or. But overall, when we think about this, I believe men are better at vetting than women.
You are absolutely right. But you also said something powerful. I'm going to piggyback on because I had a guest and we spoke about this. You said, the relationship that they had growing up with their parents and especially with their moms. Like on the very first show that aired, me and my special guest, we really went in how men and their mother relationship is so imperative because it's going to kind of set the tone of the type of woman he attract and he be with. And if he is not, set up correctly, of course, in general, he's going to make mistakes, because we're human. But if you have that proper mom, that proper guidance, and you can kind of avoid, all of that mishaps. Am I right?
Absolutely. And, it's unique that I'm seeing more and more, thank God, that we're having more conversations with men, that as I speak to men, not just in this country, but different countries throughout the world, where they talk about the healthy relationship they have with their mothers and also the relationships that were not so healthy. And the mother is the first woman that you will have a relationship with. And that is so important as a man moves into the world. Now, of course, we're talking on one hand, if he's been raised by a single mother, or he's raised by the mother and the father, because of course, if you have both the mother and father, then you're looking at how the dad interprets and looks at the relationship with his mom as well. So it's very, very key in terms of the relationship you have with your mother as a man going into the space of relationships.
Right. I'm happy you said that because I'm going to share a story. I love sharing my stories because I know it can always help someone else, because some people feel like, well, am I the only one that's going through this? And it's like, no, you're not. So I actually dated this gentleman, and he truly is a gentleman. Now, even though the relationship didn't last, I just kind of want to share his story a little bit. He was raised with both parents, his mother and his father. And he told me that he never saw his parents argue. He never saw his mother belittle his dad. He never saw his, dad, curse the mom out. And I think that's a healthy foundation right there. But one thing that he did not know how to do was kind of like conflict resolution. He wasn't good at the area because, he didn't see, the back and forth. So it's like, it's great that you create the space in one area, but then your kids don't know the other part. They're like, well, how do I bring this to the table? Because whenever I brought stuff to the table, it was like, if I didn't address it, he was quiet about it. And I'm like, you can't do that. And that's why I always check in with him. Hey, do you think I'm doing my part? And I think that's important too, for you to constantly check in with your spouse, for someone to say, hey, I care about you and I care how I handle you, and I don't want to talk at you. I want to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from a woman that, oh my gosh, Ronnie, my mouth was reckless, because I grew up in an environment where, cursing 24/7 was acceptable. So for me to come out of that to say, you know what, let me be careful with my words. And then I finally meet someone and he doesn't know how to, bring that conflict resolution to the table. It's like, that's important. That's incredible too. And I know that's something that can be taught, I know something that can be worked on, but I realized later on he had other insecurities that he had to deal with. And this is important when you're recognizing, hey, should I just be a friend or continue this relationship? And I had recognized I need to be a friend right now because there are areas you need to work on, because it's going to flow into the relationship. And a lot of people do that.
Yes, they do. I was fortunate to have a upbringing of both my mother and my father. Now, while I did not see face to face my parents have heated disagreements, we knew they happened. But what happened was, the way I was raised is that when you're having a situation where, again, I came up in a time where, young kids stayed out of grown folks' business. So if there was going to be a discussion of that nature, then they did it behind closed doors.
Right.
So there were times where they would go into the bedroom and the doors would be closed, and we knew not to open that door, no matter what the reason the situation is. When the bedroom door is closed, you do, and as a child, stay away from that. And of course, you hear the echoes of such discussions. So I also have to remind myself, even as I speak to other friends, family, and clients, that, my situation, the way I was raised, was different because I had both my mother and father, whereas there are others who had, the mother and the boyfriend or things of this nature, or some other type of father figure. But
Right.
yes, in the world of relationships, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, your relationship will be tested. And if you don't have the tools in order in which to handle these tests and disagreements, then it will manifest, and it will manifest itself in ways that is not healthy to the partner, and especially not healthy to you. So this is where, again, when I talk about relationships, I start from a space of self-development, because you really have to get to know you. And
Yes.
that's definitely an important part of going into when you're vetting. Make sure you're vetting yourself and being prepared for that time that will, and eventually come.
I like how you said vet yourself, right? Because we have to realize you are what you attract, right? I've been hearing that a lot. We understand the law of attraction. So if you don't know yourself, and my cousin, I'm gonna share a story. If we don't know ourselves, how can you express to your potential partner who you are and what you are and what you expect, you know? So
Hmm.
I'm the type of person, I love to go out by myself. Like I'll take myself to the movies, I'll take myself to dinner, I'll do little things like that. And my cousin always laughed at me. She was like, I can't do that. And then I had to sit back and I asked her, I said, why? Why can't you take it? And she said, well, I feel some type of way. I said, that's because you haven't spent time with yourself. The key thing is to spend time with yourself. Just
Preach.
like recently, I had another discovery of myself that I took myself out the other day. I said, wow, I didn't realize this about myself. And I think those are precious moments. And I want to know, why do you think, Ronnie, people are afraid to spend time with themselves?
Ooh. For one thing, I think it causes people to reflect sometimes when they don't want to reflect. And at the same time, sometimes we're so used to, we're raised in an upbringing where there's always people around.
Right.
So then there are times where people have a fear of meeting new people. They just, sometimes people don't realize that. And I had to come to terms with this, where I can get on, I have a Harley. And so I would go and I said, you know what, I'm just going to go somewhere. And I love the time to myself. That's one thing I have never had a problem with, is enjoying my own company. So I can go to, let's just say, a local space where they have adult beverages, and it could be practically empty. I can go to a corner of the restaurant or bar and just sit there, and I'm just going to have a beer. Another person, and especially it's so funny if it's a woman, she'll come in of any age, ethnicity, whatever, and out of all the places that she could sit, she's going to sit next to me.
Right.
and and this is the time that I want for myself, and I have to remember, now I'm good, and maybe because they say, Ronnie, you have a healing, energy that people, and that's because that's what ends up happening. I end up in a situation and helping them through whatever the case may be.
Right.
But there are those people who just don't want anybody. They love that, they welcome that, so they won't go for themselves. They just, for whatever the reason, they just have to be in a space where there are other people. So in order to be by themselves, it causes them to think. Sometimes they don't want to think at that time. People want to stay around other people because they want to escape from having to do that kind of reflection. But
Right.
just as you said, I truly believe that if you really want to grow within your space as a man or woman, you have to get to a space where you enjoy your own company. Because now you hear all of this self-love and love thyself. And part of that, I tell people, that's all fine and good. You're going away to all these exotic places and spending all of this money in this retail, quote unquote, therapy. But
Right.
really, what it's about is spending and learning to spend time with yourself and reflecting on ways in which you can grow and move forward in your life. And especially if you're looking to include someone else in your life as well.
Absolutely. You said something imperative, right? You said you understand you have a healing energy. And I recognize that within myself too. I'm noticing the people that have the healing energy, they need that time by themselves. And I think they need that time for themselves because other people drain them. It
Ooh,
literally is draining. I don't know about you, but
that's a
I
whole
have
nother show.
experienced that because, I like my space, and sometimes people don't understand you. So I also think too, while you're dating someone and you understand that this person has a gift, you have to not only just respect the gift, but you have to understand it. So going back to what we originally say about vetting, if you're around someone who constantly needs you, I don't think that relationship is going to work.
Yeah, the whole codependency. Yeah, that goes down to
Yes.
another whole situation. And you are so right.
Yes.
And I don't think enough people, to your point, really communicate that in the vetting process, because I'm the type of person where I can walk into a room, and I can flip the switch and I'm Mr. Wonderful and everybody can get along with me and I'm talking, and then once they
Right.
find out what you do, so, but let me tell you something, there comes a time, and it happens very quickly, where I says, okay, I'm peopled out. And so now it's all about Ronnie. And if that's just for me, if I was just taking a cruise and cruising a car or, on my motorcycle or whatever the case may be, it's just going to be time for me because this is what I need to recharge. Because if you and I'm sure you can attest to this, if you allow people, they will drain your batteries 24/7, 365.
Yes, yes. And also too, when you mentioned that part where you was at the restaurant using the corner, that's me. I couldn't sit there in the corner. But like you said, you was just chilling and somebody else wants to come in. And then here's what a lot of people don't realize. You probably consider boundaries of saying, this is my space, please don't enter. They'll like to jump in. Let me tell you something right now. If you create a space of, this is my me time, and a person wants to constantly jump in, run, because they're not going to respect your boundaries moving forward.
There you go.
So I know, we're talking about what men want, but I think also too, this is great to this whole dialogue because this will kind of give people the perspective of, stop overthinking certain things. Oh, do they not like me? They didn't reach out to me today. What's going on? And it's like, get to know who that person is and what they like. And like I said, respect it. And if you feel like you can't handle that, remove yourself. I'm gonna share a dating experience that I recently came across. So I met this gentleman. He seemed like he was a nice gentleman, and he was just recently divorced from his wife, and he meant well. Like oh, let me follow up with you. And he the verbiage that he uses. But my whole thing is, I appreciate that you meant well, but your actions are not moving for me. I need a man of action. And you said that in the beginning, like, men are leaders, men, direct, they're going to show you. And I'm like, I felt like just in that short period of time of meeting you, I don't feel that was it, because you was just showing me, work with me. Yes, work with you, but when are you going to take the initiative? If I constantly feel like I'm going to take the initiative, I don't want it, because it's bad enough, Ronnie. I run my household, I'm a single mother. I run my business. I do not want to bring that in, also going into a relationship. And some people need to understand that.
Yes. Boundaries are important. And here's something about leadership, because, we use the word leader and listen, I've adopted this space in the term of servant leadership, because there are times when you lead and knowing that when you're in the presence of other leaders in their respective space, then again, you allow this sort of reciprocity that, this is where you're going to fall back on and let this person go in this direction. When we're talking about relationships, one thing that makes a great leader of that relationship is respecting the boundaries. It's not just about your boundaries that you set and they need to respect because you're quote unquote, the leader in this space, but also making sure that you are doing that as well. And I see this a lot with men and women where they are good at setting them for themselves, but at the same time, they don't, they're challenged and respecting the boundaries of their respective partners. So no, that is so key. So key.
I'm gonna jump in real quick because we're talking about boundaries and things like that, and we're talking about relationships. One key thing that I noticed, right, when the word submission comes up, a lot of women get like, and they make the face. I'm so grateful that a long time ago that I had this conversation with my pastor, because this is probably why a lot of women feel this way. And she said to me, baby, she said, submission is nothing but yielding to one another. And you're just exercising each other power. Like, you're given the ability to listen what that person said at that moment and vice versa. But when people hear the word submit, I'm like, I don't want to submit to him. And it's like, well, why not? But in order for them to do so, I think they need to understand the correct terminology behind it, because too much of that word has negative connotation. And that's because people don't know the real value behind it and they don't understand what it means. So I just wanted to say that real quick because it just triggered me as you were speaking. I had to mention that about submission. It is exercising the power between two people, and you want also to, I'm gonna throw in healthy, because we already know there's unhealthy ways, but I have to throw that in. Would you agree on that submission?
I would agree. And to your point, Kaliman, one of the things I want to those tuning in is, if I can share one thing, is that we really have to start taking the initiative of thinking for ourselves. Because one of the things that I've seen, and more so often, I think maybe during the pandemic, far too many people spent far too much time thinking about the wrong thing or focusing on the wrong things. And maybe the intentions were there, right? But to the point when we start using words and allowing others to define words, we've gotten to this space where everybody wants to redefine something or
Right.
redefine, words like submission or cooperation or leadership. I mean, or relationship in and of itself. Now, are certain things change? But just because it's 2022, submission means this. And what we are allowing to happen is people who don't have the best intentions for men and women to redefine something, and it's not doing anyone any good. And that is one word, for some reason or the other. Some reason or the other, they attribute that to being slaves and less than. And I'm going, how in the blazes did we get to this space?
Right.
How? Because I never took it as, and because of this one thing, just like you said about the boundaries, but yet, you respect the boundaries of the world, of your workplace. You respect the boundaries of when you're talking about building a business, and you respect the boundaries of kids, of your parent. Well, why is that so hard when we talk about submission, when we're talking about that in the dynamic of a male and female relationship? But you know what? Then I look into that is because they've allowed other people to redefine something that is so far away from what it's meant to mean. Now we're in this place that we're at war. So I know I went on a little long with that, but I totally concur with what you're saying there.
No, that was needed because again, people are out there and they're just going by what other people are. That's why what they say is important who you get relationship advice from, or is it important too where you seek your information from. So I know we said a mouthful on this recording, but I know we had a conversation off air and I wanted to remember to bring this up. So I know we were talking about how people sometimes it is bring stuff in from what they see that's going on. Let's talk about these zodiac signs. And I think this is also too, this kind of also hurt when you're out there dating because you're like, oh, I don't date cancers. I don't date cancer. I'm only playing y'all. Ronnie, I know you're a Cancer, or Tauruses are too stubborn. Well, not stubborn. We just have, stuff to say, and you got to listen to our perspective sometimes.
Right.
I want to go into that zodiac. Do you feel like people are taking it way out of context with these zodiac signs and who they don't date?
I believe that, and I know some incredible, exceptional men and women, and more so women that are really into more of this than men. Not saying there aren't men who do this,
right.
But if I really took a survey, and I have in certain instances where people talks about they're not dating this sign or that sign, it is overwhelmingly women who are in this space. I mean, I can tell you there's times that I have heard they were so in line with me. I'm so in line with her until I just out of nowhere. She said, you know what? Are you a, whatever the sign? I'm like, no, I'm a Cancer. If you're going by now, again, if it's me, that is the last question I ever ask any woman. And I just don't, because I'm going by so many other things that I really don't pay attention if the moon is aligned with Venus and all of this. I really don't. I'm just not. But respect to those men and women that I know who I love dearly, they really can break that down to the molecule of that. So, but if that's their lane and their space, God bless them. But to back to the story where I say, no, if we're going by that, I'm a Cancer. And immediately she shuts down. So everything was wonderful. And she's confirming that we're moving along great. The energy is good. The vibe is there. And then I meant something and then all of a sudden she cancels. I mean, it's apparent. Right. And so I asked that. So do I believe, in my opinion, and Ronnie Walker, I do believe far too many take it too serious. If there's one thing that I believe in, and we spoke about this, is that we believe in the world of change and evolvement. And so we can sit here, well, most mass murderers of this side or most people who are that side. And I get it, and so there's all things that we can sit here and point to why it's a viable space to acknowledge someone and say, what, again, that's them. And if that's just the way that they are, I still say, look, for me, I've dated long enough that I probably dated every sign there is in the Zodiac 15, 20 times. And I've been in situationships and I've been, so listen, I just know the good, the bad. I look at the patterns and the direction that this woman is going in, and then I vet and move accordingly. So it's either going to be great or not, regardless of the sign. So, and to the long answer to that question, I do. But again, there are those I'm sure who will tune in and they'll reach out to you. Clinic's like, no, I disagree with Ronnie. The Zodiacs here, as you were talking about.
Right.
Your experience may not have been the best. But if I had to say that we cancers are wonderful people.
Sometimes I'm only playing. No, but I do want to chime in and say this because I remember I said this to you off air. I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not about the sign, it's about the evolved person. That's what matters, because sometimes what we experience in one relationship, we're not going to do it in another. Like somebody brought this up recently, and I think this is very important too. They say, there's a difference between arguing and then having disagreement, right? So I can remember when I was in a space where I constantly argued with my ex, and we constantly argued because we was not for one another. We did not know how to come to an agreement. We just did not work. Versus in my last relationship, we had disagreements, but I never argued with him, and that was the evolve me. And not only just the evolve me, because it was me vetting the correct person, and then me also too knowing that I have to watch my tongue, because I think I expressed this before. We already know there's life and death in the tongue, and women, we can cut a man up. And these men be like, well, damn, what did I do? So I understand we need to be more softer with our words. And here's the thing, right? Because this whole femininity thing and alpha male and this beta stuff that's driving me crazy. Listen, I'm gonna just be real. Naturally, a woman is soft. She is tender. And for the man that displays leadership, and a man that displays that he know what he wants from his family, naturally a woman is going to fall in design and just stay in her lane. So I don't want to care about all that extra. She's giving out masculinity energy and he's a beta male. That's another thing too that drives me up the wall. Ronnie, what's your take on that?
Ooh. I don't think we have enough time to go into that whole discussion. That's a whole other discussion. As a matter of fact, that's something that on my show, I definitely would like to have you on, and that is definitely a subject that we can cover. Look, I do believe in the feminine and masculine energy.
Right.
And going back to when we're talking about the changing in the definitions of words, I truly believe today's men and women, we really have, in this effort to redefine what a masculine man is and what a feminine woman is all over the place. Right. And as you said, some of us we overthink this far too often. And I believe that there's a natural order that we have, that is a man that we are. And I think far too often women try to change that to mean something else. And I'm like, no, you're putting into more like a woman, not in his natural order as a man. And the same where I'm like, listen, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is taking you away, because this meaning of trying to define his feminine energy as being weak. And I'm going, are you kidding me? I said, I've seen women do just incredible, sensational, exceptional things, relaxing and living in their feminine energy. Right. And this is something that as a man, we really relish in that, and we really support you ladies in that space. So we really need to get back to that. But I think what has to happen is we have to really acknowledge the true definition of what a feminine woman is and what a masculine man is. So again, we can go on into that and I can dive deeper into that, but just for the sake of just saying, I just do believe for now, we're going to stick to the feminine energy and the masculine energy. And it's a dance that is so beautiful that if we both embrace it, we can save a lot of relationships.
Absolutely. I'm there with you. I agree with you. Listen, I stay in my lane, honey. I like where I'm at. Okay. Like I expressed earlier, I run my household. and I run my business. So if I have a special man in my life, I'm gonna just stay in my lane because I vetted him properly because I trust him to guide me, and I can act in my femininity. I don't have to step out of that. So I appreciate you, Ronnie, but we are running out of time. Like you said, we definitely got to do a part 2 to this. So how can the people reach you?
You could reach out to me with resultswithronnie.com or results with Ronnie. I'm sorry, MrRelationshipMan.com. You can go there, and you can also find me on datingdiscussions.com. So all of that is, you'll see me in Mr. Relationship Man on Facebook, official Ronnie Walker on Instagram. But you go again, resultswithronnie.com. You'll see my email address. Reach out to me, questions, comments, reach out for coachings or consultations, or MrRelationshipMan.com. I'm there. And I thank you before you leave. Thank you, Glenn, for the time and for having the conversation with you. And I look forward to having you as well on the Risk Relationship Man show in the near future.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that invitation, Ronnie. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope this information was helpful. I really want to see people go back out there in the dating world and live their life and stop putting all these rules and restrictions and all this crazy stuff on you. So again, I hope what we're saying took key to you, but join me next Tuesday here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can continue to follow us here at the Lady K Podcast here on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple. And please definitely share your comment, and share this with both a male and female because they need to hear this information. It is imperative. So I will see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Lady K.